Hi, Grant. Thank you for coming to the interview today. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Sure, yeah, I'm glad to be here. My name's Grant Jackson. I'm the Conservative candidate for the Conservative Party of Canada in the federal election here for the constituency of Brandon-Souris.
Okay. Historically, since 1952, the Brandon-Souris riding has been a stronghold for the Conservative Party, with only one term won by the Liberals. Your selection by the PC party this time would be an acknowledgement of your capabilities and expectation for the future of the party. To ask first, how did you learn about the former MP Larry Maguire's illness and resignation?
Yeah, so I appreciate that for sure, and I certainly appreciate the support from the federal Conservative Party organization that they think I'm up to the task of filling Larry Maguire's shoes. Last Sunday, so a week ago yesterday, Larry phoned me in advance of his public announcement. I think he did that for many of his provincial MLA colleagues. Of course, there are a number of provincial MLAs that make up the larger federal riding, and it gave me the heads up that he'd had a significant and serious health diagnosis that was going to require surgery, and so that he would be making it public later that day that he would not be seeking re-election in this upcoming federal election. And so then not long after that, the federal organization phoned me and asked if I would be willing to try and fill Larry's shoes and to get out to the doors as their candidate and try to win this seat again for the Conservative Party of Canada.
Okay. You previously worked as a staffer for Larry Maguire. Can you share any specific tasks or responsibilities you had in that role?
Yeah, Larry certainly is a mentor to me, has been for a very long time. I was very pleased to have my summer job when I was in high school with him, and then a little bit while I was going to university as well. Larry was a great mentor, and so in his office I learned the ropes of constituency politics here at the Brandon office, and that everything under the sun comes in the door there in terms of federal issues with federal departments. You've got EI, you've got old age security, you've got countless immigration files that the constituency office works on, and then you've got the public outreach side as well, which is making sure that the Member of Parliament is at events, knows about them when they're happening in communities, both here in the city and across the rural constituency. It was my job to make sure those were in his calendar, attend many of those events with him as well, and make sure that he's visible and accessible to the public. And then when I went to Ottawa and worked there, certainly learned the legislative ropes in terms of how legislation is drafted and passed into law. Briefed him, did research for him for question period, and also his committee work on the various committees that he was assigned to. He spent a lot of time on the National Defence Committee as well as the Immigration and Citizenship Committee. So those are two very important files at the federal level. So I did lots of research working on policy briefs and opinion papers to make sure that he was well prepared going into those committee meetings. So those are just a few examples of different tasks that I had while working in his constituency and then his parliamentary office in Ottawa.
Doing so much preparation for him, you know what's expected of yourself now going into that?
Yeah, I think I'm well prepared. I've also been an MLA now, so I understand how to get bills passed, how to negotiate with people of differing political views than yourself. That's the only way, particularly when you're in opposition, to get your ideas through and your bills passed is by working with people from other parties. So I'm certainly no stranger to that work, and very much hoping that the voters of Brandon-Souris will elect me to continue doing that at the federal level for them.
Okay. How would you evaluate former MP Larry Maguire's contributions and legacy?
I think Larry has been a very impactful Member of Parliament. He's certainly one of the most visible that I know of. He has worked incredibly hard evenings, weekends, you name it, holidays, he is at events in communities across the constituency. I think people really appreciate that. Every time I speak to people, they certainly appreciate how much Larry has been out and about and worked hard to stay engaged with his community. On the legislative side, he's been a very important voice for a sound immigration system across the country, as well as representing the good folks at CFB Shiloh right here in our own constituency, and those others that put on a uniform and put their lives on the line for this country at home and abroad. And then, his bill C-208 was a private member's bill that he got passed in opposition, which is very difficult to do. But he got the support by using his skills from the Bloc Québécois and the NDP to pass his bill, which implements before in our tax system, if you had a business or a farm and wanted to pass that business on to your children to take over, you were taxed higher than if you put your business or your farm on the market and sold it to complete strangers, which is the total opposite of what we should be doing. We should be encouraging the family farm to continue. We should be encouraging family businesses to continue, not taxing them higher. So his bill removed that so that they are taxed much lower now to have your children inherit your family farm or your business. And I hear from farmers and business owners all the time, not just from here, but across the country, that bill has made it possible for them to keep that business or that family farm in the family, because many times the tax bill was so high that they couldn't pay it. And so their kids wanted to take it over and they couldn't pay the tax bill, so they had to sell it. And so that's a national impact that Larry has had as a member of Parliament. I think he will be remembered very well for the work that he's done for this constituency.
How is your campaign preparation going? How does this election compare to your previous campaign for MLA?
Well, obviously Larry's announcement was very sudden, and so he had a campaign office already booked. So that's been helpful that we had a space ready to go that I've now taken over. It's right beside Sleep Country and the Corral Center here in the Wheat City. But everything else had to be changed. So we built a campaign team over the last week. We've got signs printed now. They rushed a small order just so we could get some up. They've come along the larger order now. We've got literature printed. I've been outdoor knocking already. So it's coming together. It's been quite a busy week, but we are organized. We have a team built, and we're ready to continue getting to the doors and talking to voters. Door knocking is the same no matter what level of government you're running for. The issues are different, of course, but door knocking is the best way to get in front of voters. So that's the main thing that I'll be doing for the next 4 weeks, is getting to the doors. Obviously, just with the federal, the biggest difference is my area is much larger. And so it's just that many more volunteers are needed to help me get to as many doors as possible, and that many more kilometers on the vehicle, but we're going to get it done and we'll be at the doors.
Okay, that's great. In this election, some voters might consider age and experience when making their choice. Can you tell us about some specific things you have done to address any concerns that they may have?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, it's important to note that having been an MLA and having worked on Parliament Hill in Ottawa, I know the ropes. I know how the system works. I know where things need to go in order to get done. And I think that's what people need right now. We don't have a whole lot of time to solve some of the pressing issues, and particularly with a looming trade war, that's going to take a swift response. So there's no time for learning, where the washrooms are. We need somebody who knows how to get things done, and that I have that experience. And I think you have seen that with my provincial work too. I passed a private member's bill from opposition in my first 6 months in the provincial legislature, which is very rare, but that's speaks to my ability to engage with the governing party or other political viewpoints and get things done on behalf of constituents. And so those are certainly the skills I bring to the table. I also think it's important for the next generation to be stepping up. I really do. And so I'm very proud to represent a younger generation of Conservatives and Manitobans who want better affordability, who want a stronger economy for this country, who want better services delivered by the federal government. And so I think I have those values and that support. You're seeing a younger team step forward under our Conservative banner across the country, and I think that's important. I think it's time. Young people can do big things, and it's important to show that and put your name on a ballot to support that. So I'm very proud to be a younger person running for elected office. And if folks want to chat about that, I'd be happy to chat with them. But I certainly think that it's the right time for younger people to be stepping forward.
Certainly. Running for MP is quite different from running for city councillor or MLA. An MP is responsible for an entire region, the province, and even federal affairs. What policies do you plan to introduce or advocate for?
Yeah, it's certainly a bigger region, as we just chatted about a little bit, although I'm no stranger to the city of Brandon. I lived here when I went to university here. No stranger to Westman. I played hockey and ball in just about every town across the Southwest. So this is a region that I know very well. It's home, and that makes it easier to get out there and engage in all these communities, and I'm very passionate about this region. There's a couple of policies. Of course, you can look and encourage residents to look at our website to view our full platform, and we're still rolling more out as we go here. But in terms of this region specifically, there's a couple of priorities that I have. Obviously, we've got to bring costs down for families. People are choosing, I think the stats are up to about 50% of Manitobans are choosing between their hydro bill and groceries. That's an astounding figure. That is terrible and has to come down, and it's worse in other areas of the country. So we've got to get costs down for Manitobans, and I think we have a plan to do that by lowering taxes and boosting up our economy, growing jobs here, good paying jobs, so that there's more opportunity for people to earn a better wage. I think in terms of local issues specifically, our oil and gas sector has been suppressed by the last 10 years of the Liberal government. There's lots of great jobs. We need Canadian ethical oil and gas to be produced here in the country and then sold across the world. Right now, we're still importing oil from Venezuela and other dictatorships like Saudi Arabia to refine at New Brunswick refineries. That doesn't make any sense. Why would we be supporting dictatorships where women don't have any rights or very little rights, comparatively speaking, and we're not supporting good oil and gas jobs here in Canada? So I think we need to make some improvements on that. That will be a big impact to Brandon and Westman. Our agricultural sector, there's lots of opportunities there. I know we're talking canola right now because of the tariffs from China and the US. We need to bring a canola crushing facility to Western Manitoba and then find new markets to sell that canola once it's turned into a marketable product. And the Brandon Airport, huge opportunities with the Brandon Airport. I think it's such an asset that there's more that can be done with that facility. So I'm really looking forward to lobbying on behalf of the region and the airport, or the airport, if I'm elected as the MP, for investment into that facility to see what more expansion we can get there, not just on the passenger side, but also in terms of cargo. We're strategically located here in the center of the country. I think that there's a massive air cargo industry, and I think there's Brandon and the Brandon Municipal Airport can play a bigger role in that for sure.
Okay. Regarding the Prime Minister election, what policies of the current Liberal government do you think need improvement?
Well, I think we talked a little bit about the oil and gas sector. I think that's been a big hamper on our economy. We have the slowest growing economy in the G7 right now. That's a major problem. And lots to do with that is the suppression of not just oil and gas, but natural resource projects across the country. We have, and particularly here in Manitoba, we have almost all of the world's globally listed critical minerals that are needed for the economy moving forward. And yet we can't get approvals permitted faster. It's taking a decade or more to get permits approved to start mining these resources and then refining them and getting them to market. So if we want to talk about improving and expanding and our changing economy in the world, we have what that new economy needs, but we can't get it out of the ground. And so our leader, Pierre Poilievre, has promised a one permit and 1 year maximum to get permits through, one review on that, and then these things are off to the races and we move into getting them developed. And so I think that's very important. We're hampering ourselves right now, and we have been for the last 10 years, and that's a problem because we need to get products to market. We can see with the looming trade war with the United States, we can't rely on one trading partner anymore. They have made that clear. And so we need to get our resources out of the ground, we need to manufacture them ourselves, and then we need to get them to other markets across the globe. I think we have the right team to do that. In terms of public safety, it's a top issue for a lot of Manitobans, a lot of Canadians. You know, the catch and release bail system, the criminal code changes that the current Liberal government has made have resulted in huge increases, over 100%, sometimes 200% increases in different types of violent crime in different areas across the country. You see drug addiction spiraling out of control. Our streets are, especially in downtowns and major urban centers, are being hollowed out. We have to stop this, and that's why I think our Conservative team has the right plan to make sure that not just those people who commit the crimes, but also the dealers will face life sentences if they are trafficking fentanyl and other serious drugs that are getting people into the spiral of addictions. We've got to put these people away. They are destroying communities, they're destroying families. It's totally unacceptable, and there needs to be consequences. I don't blame the person who got addicted. It's not their fault. Addiction is a disease. But the people who are trafficking this stuff and profiting off of it, they should not be walking our streets on bail. And so that's what our Conservative team believes. And I think that folks, if they choose to elect a Conservative government, will see a marked improvement in public safety when those things get implemented.
Mark Carney has been really strong in his statements recently. He's been sharply criticizing Trump to the extent that he doesn't even need to engage with Pierre Poilievre. As a PC member, you support Pierre Poilievre's stance on the US. Some people have different thoughts on compromising with the US or being tough in this situation. Why can't Canada and the US form an alliance similar to the EU to promote economic and political integration? From your perspective, what would the challenges be to achieving something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. Certainly Mark Carney has tried to position himself as tough on Trump. I would just encourage voters, and I know that Canadians are smart enough that they're going to see through a little bit of the messaging from Mark Carney. Part of the problem that Canada has right now in our negotiations with the Americans and with Donald Trump is that we're negotiating from a position of significant weakness economically. We are so integrated with the American economy, we're so reliant on them as our largest trading partner, that they know that they have us under their thumb. And that's a problem. So we need to rapidly grow Canada's economy here so that we are then negotiating from a position of strength, or at least stronger certainly than we are after the last 10 years of repressing our economy. And so I think it's only the Conservatives that have a plan to really rapidly grow our economy. The Liberal government, you know, Mark Carney might be different than Justin Trudeau in name, but he's been advising him for the last 5 years. He's been involved in the same types of economic policies as Trudeau has been pushing for the last 15 years. And the cabinet is almost entirely the same group of people that were in Justin Trudeau's cabinet for the last 10 years. So this is really nothing new from the Liberals, and you're not going to see a different relationship with Donald Trump. So I think Pierre Poilievre has been very forceful that these tariffs are unacceptable, they're illegal, and we will fight them dollar for dollar if they continue. But we need to be negotiating with the Americans from a position of strength, and only a Conservative government is going to bring that about, because we have the right plan to grow Canada's economy, create good jobs here, and lower taxes so that Manitobans and all Canadians have more money in their pockets so that they can reinvest in this great country. And so I'm very passionate about that. I think we've got the right plan. And listen, Donald Trump is no friend to Canada. The Americans will be our friends again someday, but we need to be stronger than we are now in order to remind them that they need Canada as well. And we need to be just as economically strong, or as strong as we can be before they're going to take that seriously.
Mm-hmm. And in regard to investing in Canada, becoming more capable with our own economy, Trump's policies have aimed to bring manufacturing back to the US, making many countries realize the importance of their own manufacturing industries. Do you think Canada is facing an issue of industrial hollowing out? And how do you think we could revitalize Canada's manufacturing sector?
Yeah, it's certainly a challenge. And now even more so with steel tariffs from the United States and elsewhere. That's hurting manufacturing jobs here in Canada, right locally. I mean, there's a number in Brandon and the Southwest. You got the Selkirk Steel Mill, many in the steel industry out that way, northeast of Winnipeg. So this is a big concern. And I think we need to protect those industries. We've got the right policies to do that. But I think in terms of longer term, we need to be finding them more markets to sell their goods in. Canadian steel is some of the highest quality product in the world that's made. We should be finding elsewhere. If the Americans don't want it, that's fine. We should be able to sell this and export it to other countries. So I think you've got a Conservative team who has great knowledge on this file, great connections in other countries around the world. I think Pierre Poilievre has the right team to get those goods to market. So I think you're going to see more roll out on our policy platform over the coming days and weeks of this campaign. But I think right now you're seeing the ability already, some of our policy commitments, including allowing Canadians to invest more in a tax-free savings account, so that if you have a little bit extra money, you can invest it tax-free, but it has to be invested in Canadian companies. And that's so important to keep those dollars in our Canadian economy, supporting Canadian business so that they have the investment to grow, rather than us investing in American or overseas European companies. We need that money here now to protect Canada's economy, to put Canada first. And I think we've got a plan that's going to be very successful in doing that.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing your answers to all of these questions today. Just to finish off, what can people expect from you next over your campaign as you're going through that?
Yeah, well, they can expect to see me out and about. No doubt about that. I'm door knocking every day, trying to be in smaller communities during the day, and then door knocking in the evenings on the streets. If folks are willing to volunteer, please don't hesitate to stop by our campaign office. But that's what they can expect from me. We'll have a strong Conservative platform. We'll make sure that people are aware of that. Social media, traditional media, in the mail, on the phones. That we will be reaching out to you, and certainly proud to be the Conservative candidate for Brandon-Souris, and hope I can count on people's votes on April 28th.
What would your predictions be for the upcoming federal election?
Yeah, I would say I have a strong belief that we're going to win a Conservative majority government. I would not believe the polls. Things have shifted a little bit because of Justin Trudeau's resignation and Mark Carney. But Mark Carney is untested in a campaign. He's never run a campaign before. And I think you're going to see as the days go by on this campaign that he's going to struggle. You've already seen him pull out of the French language debate. That's the first time in the history of Canada that a Liberal national leader will not participate in a French language debate. It's unheard of. And I think you're going to see more mistakes like that coming out of his campaign as the days go by. Pierre Poilievre is a strong campaigner. He's a great communicator. And he is getting big crowds of hardworking Canadians everywhere in this country, even in traditional non-Conservative areas. He had 4,500 people in Hamilton last Tuesday. He had over 3,500 in Winnipeg on Saturday afternoon. That's probably the largest political rally in recent history in Winnipeg. It was an electric crowd. People were just over the moon to see him in Manitoba campaigning on the ground in an open, free event that they could walk in off the street and meet him. So listen, we're putting in the work. Our team across the country is putting in the work. Pierre is putting in the work. And we're going to bring home a large Conservative majority government as long as we can count on the folks' support, including the good folks of Brandon-Souris here.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.